You're calling to get a waiter fired. Really, Karen? Like, okay, I'm really excited to see if this is like a really big Karen moment, or is this really just like an unprofessional restaurant employee that just needs to go? I don't know what it's gonna be. Happy apple picking day! Some quick reminders for any of our new friends. If you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And we definitely need a reminder. We all come from different branches of the apple tree. And what that means is that we all grow up with different experiences, and those experiences form and shape our opinions. They're going to determine how we read these stories and how we envision these stories and what we think about with these stories. So if you don't agree with me or someone else in the comments, that happens. It's probably just because we had different experiences. And it's okay to just agree to disagree. Just because someone isn't changing their opinion even after you've explained yours doesn't always make them a terrible person. Just like you don't have to change your opinion just because someone explains theirs. It happens. We're human. It's fine. It's okay to just move on. We keep the comments civil. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking. Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for laughing at my cousin when she tried to stage an intervention? I, 27 male, have a condition which causes me to overproduce earwax. I don't tell people about it because I was bullied for it growing up. Only my wife and my parents know. Every other day, I have to put medication in each ear, let it sit, and then just flush it out with a rubber-tipped syringe. This prevents ear infections, vertigo, permanent hearing loss, and the worsening of my tinnitus. I've dealt with all of these things to some extent, so I stay very on top of my eardrop regimen. If my alarm goes off while I'm with others, I just go to the bathroom for 20 minutes and knock it out. Because if I don't, I'm just gonna forget to do it later, so I can't put it off. Well, 2 weeks ago, my mom hosted a family dinner. My cousin Kara, 37 female, saw me waltz off to the bathroom to do my thing, syringe in hand, and asked where I was going. I told her, just a minor medical thing. She kept pushing and pushing, but I didn't want to say anything because she gossips. I told her it's personal and scooted past her. When I left, she was standing in the hallway. She asked what took so long and why the toilet didn't flush. And I just said, it's none of your business. She said, I didn't mean to offend you. Last weekend, my friend called me and invited me out to lunch with some buddies, and he said to meet up at his house so that we wouldn't have to drive separately. I arrived at his house to find Kara and my friend sitting solemnly on the couch. Kara said they were here to talk about my problem and that they just wanted to help. I said, there's no problem. Suddenly it clicked in my head what this was about, and I couldn't help but laugh a little out of pure shock. She asked what was so funny, and I said, first of all, why didn't you talk to my wife or my parent? She said she didn't want to involve my enablers, which just made me laugh harder. She looked annoyed and said that she was done trying to help me, and I said, that's all right by me, and she stormed out. I explained to my friends, and they knew I had a condition, but never pressed me on it, so I guess when Kara approached them, they thought I was lying. Obviously, I'd rather they know than worry about me being an addict when I'm not. I thank them for their support anyways. Kara had apparently reached out to all my friends through social media, and we all had a good hearty laugh about it, which Kara must have heard because she was, of course, eavesdropping. She burst back in and told me to tell them the truth, to which I said, I did. My friend kicked her out and we all went to lunch, and I thought that was it. Well, then my mom called me yesterday and told me she talked to Kara about the whole thing and explained. She said that Kara was very upset with me and essentially called me a jerk for not explaining to her and laughing in her face and embarrassing her. I said that I was embarrassed and that Kara had no right to my personal information. I think she shouldn't go around snooping and making assumptions about people, but my mom still thinks I should apologize, so was I the bad apple? There's this quote on social media that I saw a long time ago, and it's something along the lines of like, there's 2 types of people, or 2 types of friends who come to you when you have problems. The people who like genuinely want to listen, and the people who are just excited that you have problems. And Kara, to me, sounds like the latter. Like, imagine thinking there's a serious problem going on, and you, the cousin who's not close and doesn't you are gonna change this person's whole life, not the wife, not the parents, like you're the, like that's main character energy in a heartbeat. Like, and here's the thing, if I genuinely thought that Kara was just concerned about her cousin's health and well-being, I would have a completely different attitude. But there are so many little things in this that show that it's not about the concern, and it's not about loving her cousin. It's about like the drama. It's about the attention. It's about like wanting someone else to have a problem. And so that's why I have no sympathy for this Kara person, because it's a clear distinction. Because like, one, not even going to the people who know this person, like the wife, the parents. Yeah, well, they're enabling. Well, you don't even know what they're enabling. You have no idea. Like, you have an assumption, but she didn't even take the time to like ask. She didn't even take the time to hear them out. She didn't even take the time to like do any little bit of research. She just saw someone go to the bathroom with a syringe. Which, sure, that might raise questions if she doesn't know about the ear infection. But automatically just jumping to drug addiction and intervention without involving like the people closest to that individual, that's like really weird. Like, I know someone in the content world who went through a little bit of a mental breakdown, and there is a friend of that creator who I'll never forget. Like, I was with a bunch of creators at the time, and all one by one, we each got a frantic phone call from this individual that's like, Blake is having a mental breakdown, and what should we do? We should have an intervention. We should all get together, and blah, 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 blah. And I was the first person this person called. And I vividly remember saying like, hey, I'm at an event right now. If you're really concerned that blank is going through this, we should keep it contained. We should keep it like, we don't need to be spreading their business. I will take a look at everything that you're saying to me right after I get out of this event, but we shouldn't like be spreading their business everywhere. And as soon as I hung up the phone, 3 or 4 other people in the same room got the same phone call. That's not someone that's concerned. That's someone who's looking for the drama. That's someone who's looking to be the hero. That, like, when you're using someone else's misfortunes for like the thrill or the attention, like, that's really gross behavior, and that says a lot to me as a person. And also, like, when you have a real intervention with a person, they're not going to be receptive to it immediately. So the fact that like 30 seconds into this intervention, the guy laughed and was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, well, fine, I won't help you. Like, what? Like, you don't want my help, dramatically exits. Like, no, they're not there to actually help with a problem. Because if they were, they would have been expecting someone with a real problem to like fight against it and wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, and also, like, when you do little to no research and you contact everyone's friends and are like, they have a drug problem, we need to talk to them, that's really embarrassing and humiliating. And for her to make a big deal about, well, I was embarrassed because you called me out and showed me that I was wrong. What about you, like, spreading this rumor that your cousin's a drug addict? Like, do you not think that's embarrassing? Like, what? You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed for using someone else's misfortune for like a thrill and for drama and for attention. Like, that's gross. So I don't think that OP has anything to apologize for, personally. I think everything about this cousin like screams red flag to me. I don't like it. I don't think this is a genuine person. It bothers me. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for reporting my child's teacher when everyone told me not to? I, 35 female, have a daughter in 5th grade. It was the end of the year, so for the graduation party, they have a 5th grade talent show. My daughter and her friend had a great idea for a skit that they were so excited for. One day, she came home crying because she said her teacher made her and her friends perform the skit in front of the class to practice. But my daughter and her friends didn't have everyone there for their skit, and it also wasn't finished yet. She told her teacher this, but the teacher made her perform it anyways, and it was a disaster. Everyone laughed, and my daughter was so embarrassed. She said that some kids even came up to her and told her that they shouldn't do the skit for the show because it was that bad. I talked to my daughter, and she told me that her friends decided that they're going to cancel the skit, and I feel so bad for them. The next day, my daughter came home crying again. She told me that when she told the teachers they were gonna cancel the skit, the teacher said, okay, good. I didn't even put you guys in the program. I was so mad. I asked my daughter if she wanted me to report it, and she said no, and so did my husband. I was mad though, so I did it anyways. The next day, my daughter came home mad at me. I asked her what's wrong. She told me that the teacher picked her out of class in front of everyone and scolded my daughter for complaining to her parents. My daughter was so mad at me for embarrassing her, and my husband said that I was in the wrong because sometimes kids don't want solutions to their problems. They just want someone to talk to. So I don't know. Was I the bad apple? Okay, I have two very conflicting opinions about this story. First of all, I can't stand that teacher. It's so funny because like people always tell me like, oh, you always side with the teachers. No, I don't. I really don't. I can show you so many stories where I don't, and this is one of them. That's like, at first, like I really wanted to believe that the teacher was just like being sarcastic and fun. Like when he was like, oh, I didn't even put you guys in the program. Like trying to make it seem like it's not a big deal to like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Like I really wanted to believe the best in the teacher because you always want to believe the best in people, you know? But like calling the kid out for complaining to the parents in general, much less in front of the class, is really gross behavior. Like not a fan of that. So like teacher's bad apple for sure. When it comes to the mom, I have two very conflicting opinions that I'm struggling with really hard. And the first one is the idea of like not reporting something serious because you don't want to deal with the hassle, or you don't want to get anyone in trouble, or you don't want to look like a tattletale. And one of the biggest reasons that I don't like this concept is because it translates as you get older, right? Like I have a friend in my life who is really struggling to get the courage to report a man for misconduct, right? We catch the drifts, and I want so badly for her to report it. But she grew up in an atmosphere where, like, you know, she doesn't want to cause waves. She doesn't want backlash of reporting this guy. And I think that's so unfortunate, and I don't like planting those seeds at young ages, if that makes sense. Like, I don't believe in not reporting things just to protect an abuser. So even though like it's a different situation, I feel like how we handle these things plant seeds for later. But at the same time, I do also see the dad's point, and I even in like a regular adult lives, like when my friends are venting to me, I always ask them, I said, do you want someone to just listen, or are you looking for solutions? And I always try to ask my friends that. I think that's important. But furthermore, like I think like if you give your child the choice of like, hey, do you want to report or do you not want to report? Like I think also respecting that choice is also important. You know what I mean? So like these are all the conflicting thoughts that I have in my head right now. I think what I'm gonna go with, and I because this is such a conflicting situation for me, like I 1000% think that people could sway me because I'm really struggling to like pick a decision here, and I'm not a parent, you know, like I don't know. I think that if you as a parent are going to give your child the choice of do you want to report, do you not want to report, I think that you need to respect that choice. If you as the parent decide this needs to be reported, then I would say that at the beginning and not give the choice and then take that choice away. That's going to be my decision. So I'm going to go, I think I'm gonna go crab apple. I don't think I'm gonna go all the way to bad apple for it, if that makes sense. Now, here's the thing though. I think initially crab apple because I understand. I do not like how you went about it though. Like if you were going to report anyways, I wish you just didn't give the initial choice to the daughter and then take it away later. So that's why I'm gonna go crab apple. At the end though, when the teacher scolds the daughter for going to her parents, I would report that again. Hands down, 1000%. I would go to the principal for that immediately. Immediately, that is unacceptable. There is never a time where a teacher should scold students for reporting their feelings to their parents. Like if they got their feelings hurt in class or something happened in class that they didn't like, Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I'm still gonna go crabapple, but I do think an additional report needs to be made for sure. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for hiring a cleaning service? My wife is a stay-at-home mom. We have 2 children, 10 and 12. I pay all the bills and I put money aside for the kids' education, emergencies, savings, vacations, retirements, all the things. Then whatever is left, I split 50-50 with my wife. Recently, she's decided that I don't do enough around the house, so she wants me to start doing more chores. I asked, are we gonna split up all the chores again? What I mean is that the kids have their chores, she has hers, and I have mine. So if she wants me to do more, I want mine redistributed as well. I think she can mow the lawn and do the yard work and house maintenance. That's not what she wants. She wants me to take on more of the chores that we agreed would be hers. And on top of all the chores that I currently have. I asked her what she wanted me to do and she gave me a list. So I hired a cleaning service and paid for it out of our budget before splitting the fund money. Now she says that I am a jerk and being financially abusive, but I think it's a fair compromise. So was I the bad apple? Okay, so I really hate this whole situation, to be honest. So like, I know everyone's household is different, okay? Everyone's household is different. Everyone's household is ran, but however it works for them. Right? Everyone has different ways of doing things. For my parents, for example, my dad is the complete breadwinner and he works all day and he pays all the bills and he also does the yard work and the house maintenance and things like that, right? And my mom cooks and cleans and does all the things. That's how they have split up their household. I know people who both work full-time jobs and then split chores. I know people where one is a child care person and the other works and they all split the chores. Like, every house works how their house works. But I think what's really important is for everyone in the house to be on the same page. So if everyone has agreed, hey, these are the specific chores for us, and that's what works for everybody, then that's what works for everybody, and that's great. But I think the big key here is for everyone to be on the same page and for everyone to be in an agreement. Right? So if the wife, this stay-at-home mom, has decided that this system doesn't work for her anymore, then I think that like a conversation needs to be had and a compromise needs to be made. Not just okay, I've decided you're not doing enough, here's a list. I don't necessarily, I think that a conversation needs to be had and a solution needs to be found. On the flip side, using together money like house finances and saying like this is coming out of your fund money that you're usually getting. I think that like when it comes to shared income, talking about hiring a service before doing it is also important because yeah, you make the money, but that's like your role in the household. The household is the mom and the dad, the husband and the wife. Like that's a partnership. You say like, oh, I thought this is a fair compromise, but a compromise is between two people. It's a resolution or a solution between two people, not just you decided because she wanted this and you thought this would be easier. Like, I don't hate the idea of the cleaning service if that's something that you can afford, but like, I don't necessarily agree that just hiring someone without talking to your spouse when it's going to like cut into both of your fund money funds that you agree on receiving, like I don't agree with that. You know, I think that before hiring services, like there's if you want to say this is a compromise, then there actually needs to be a compromise. There actually needs to be communication. I feel like both of these spouses are just kind of like nitpicking at each other. Like, is the wife in the right for just saying like, no, I'm adding all of this, like you don't do enough, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I think both spouses have pretty vital roles in the household. I don't know the details about all the tasks that they're both doing around the house or the new ones that she wants. But like from the sound of it, it sounds like they both have pretty vital and important and involved roles in the house. So like, I think instead of her being so demanding and just saying like, hey, this is what's happening, I'm changing our routine, a conversation needs to be had. And I think for him, before just paying for this service, because like hiring housekeepers can be expensive. I think before hiring this service and cutting into the money that she is used to spending each week or each month, having a conversation like that, also needs to be done. So like I think both of these people are in the wrong. So I'm probably just gonna go like bad batch. I think right now there's like a, I don't even know what phrase or what word I'm looking for, but like this feeling of like everything is on my shoulders because I'm the hardest working person here. And I feel like both spouses are kind of in that mindset right now, and they're seeing it as a me versus them instead of a us versus the tasks. And I like even have been kind of like teetering around crabapple because like, I don't know, I don't feel like either are necessarily trying to like hurt or spite each other to an extent, if that makes sense. Like they both think they're doing what's fair and they both think they're doing what's best for the house, and they both, like, I don't know, maybe I just have my rose-colored glasses on today and I'm just like being too positive and trying to see the best in people. And now I'm worried that I'm being too soft. Maybe I'll just go bad batch and I'll just go everyone's a bad apple, because like you just gotta communicate. And again, remember, it's like you two versus the tasks, not you two versus each other. Yeah. Apple number 4. Would I be the bad apple if I complained about this waiter and got them fired? My dad was visiting me from my hometown and he picked me up at my dorm and we decided to try a nice Italian restaurant nearby. When we got there and were seated, my dad gets up to go and use the restroom. Some important context, my dad has been sober since my parents' divorce, and it's something that's very important to both of us. 10 years sober. He actually sponsored a guy who then became a sponsor in his own right. So my dad's an AA oldster and grand sponsor, and I'm so proud of him. So anyways, while my dad was in the bathroom, the waiter approaches us with a bottle of wine and places it on the table, and I immediately tell him, no thank you, we will not be drinking tonight. The waiter then says, oh, it's not a problem, I'll just leave it here in case you guys change your mind. To which I said, nope, my dad is sober. Take that away. Well, the waiter comes back and says, well, our policy is to put wine on the table. Well, at that point, I just stood up angrily and kind of half-shouted, okay, fine, then we're leaving. And I get up and just walk out the door. I saw my dad, told him I didn't like the menu, and he seemed kind of confused, but we left. Now here's the thing. My dad nowadays has a very strong grip over his alcohol addiction, and if he found wine on the table, he'd probably just laugh it off and ignore it. But I didn't want it to be on his mind at all. But we left, and we're never going back. And I feel like it's a really bad policy to force patrons to sit with wine if they say no. I want to call and tell this manager that his policy is awful and cause me to walk out. And I really want to tell him that I explained to the waiter and he still didn't take the wine off the table. But I also wonder if I should just let it go. Like, is getting someone fired over this really worth it? Am I being the bad apple? First of all, congratulations to your dad. I think we are all very proud of him. He's doing great and he's killing it. Second of all, agree this policy is awful. Hate it. Absolutely 1000% call the restaurant and definitely explain like this is a terrible policy. Your waiters need to be spoken to. This is not something that should be happening at a restaurant. Now, I was a server for like 6 or 7 years, right? Granted, I did work at a sports bar, not a nice fancy Italian restaurant, but I have been to expensive restaurants and I've never been to a restaurant where like it's just policy to put wine on the table and keep it there. Now, I could be wrong. Some of you guys might have experienced that before. I've never seen that. So like, I think it's very odd. Is this just like a random weird place? Is the waiter lying? I don't know. I typically like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I would like to believe that this waiter is genuinely just trying to follow policy and go by what his job says he has to do to keep his job. So I would approach it as like calling the restaurant, talking to the manager. It's let's be honest, it's not even probably the manager's policy. If it's policy, that's gonna be the owner's policy, okay? So I would definitely call and like complain to the manager, not necessarily about like, hey, this waiter, like I would say, hey, we came to your restaurant and this policy was explained to us and we found it unacceptable because XYZ, because that's a very, very valid reason. It's a very weird policy. I don't like it either. 1000% on your side. Now, again, I've already said I'm a little suspicious about like, was the waiter telling the truth or not? Even so, like I worked at a sports bar, not a fancy place. But like, I know there were things that like you were supposed to do or supposed to not do. And if I had a guest that needed extra accommodations, like I know there have been so many times that's happened and I'm like, it's fine, or like it's okay, or you're not supposed to, blah, 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 like we'll make it work. So like, I don't like that the waiter didn't like, I'm just gonna take this from you. Like, you know, like AA and addiction, it's a disease and it's not a joke. And I do not like that the waiter did not accommodate, even if it was policy, and like, I don't like it. Am I gonna give the waiter bad apple just for saying, well, it's policy for me to keep this on the table? I really want to. I think that if the waiter like continued to, like if you stayed and the waiter continued to fight you on it, yes. I don't know if I'm going to give, even though I hate it, I don't know if I'm gonna give the waiter like a bad apple just for saying, well, this is policy for me to keep it here. Cause like not because I don't think it's a big deal, but because I want to have faith that if it was pushed, the waiter would have been like, you know what, you're right, I'm going to take this. And that's the only reason, like I'm really like trying to root for this. I'm assuming it's like a kid. I'm assuming it's like, you have to be 18 to be a server to serve alcohol. So I'm hoping it's like a kid that's like, I'm a rule follower and I don't know what to do, but you know what, you're right. Like, I'm not gonna give him bad apple for like hesitating and being concerned about getting fired. Even though like I would be so mad in that moment. I just want to believe that if the interaction continued longer than it did, that he would come to his right mind. If that makes sense. Don't come for me for that. I just like to have faith in people. But I 1000% think that like whoever made that policy, that is a gross policy. That's an awful policy. Also, if it is policy, I'm also very frustrated with like the managers to not like explain when there are exceptions to these rules. You know, like if it's a bunch of pregnant ladies having brunch, maybe you don't put wine on the table. If someone says, hey, I'm sober, maybe you don't put wine on the table. Like if there are children at the table who are like grabby, maybe, you know, maybe it's not the best policy to have. There are a lot of examples to where this would not be a good policy. You know, like even thinking about like disabilities, you know, my friend Molly Burke is blind. Why would you put a fragile bottle of wine on the edge of a table where someone can't see what's on the table and might knock it over? Like, I think that there are like being aware of accommodations that people might need for medical situations, disabilities, like these are all very important. I think this is a really bad policy. So again, back to the question, am I the bad apple for trying to get the waiter fired? I don't think it's a bad thing to call the restaurant and talk about the policy. I don't know, based on the interaction that was had, because all he said was, oh, I'll leave it here. Oh, well, it's policy. Based on that, I'm not going to say getting the waiter fired would be my go-to, just based on those two lines that he had. Definitely have a talking to with your servers and definitely explaining like accommodations that need to be had for different kinds of people. But I think like wanting the waiter to get fired is a little over the top for that. And again, I'm like picturing this like 19-year-old kid that's like just trying to not get in trouble. I might be having too much faith in this kid. I'm going to go crabapple. Again, not because I think calling the restaurant is a bad idea. I think you call them. I think focusing on the waiter and not the policy is where I'm going crabapple and not good apple. That's it. I think you're completely justified. I would be just as upset. I'm so happy that you're so supportive of your dad. I'm so happy that you're being so protective. I just would like to see you focus your anger on the people who can actually do something different and not like the 19-year-old kid that just doesn't want to get in trouble at his job. Again, the anger is justified. We're just gonna shift it to where it needs to go, if that makes sense. And if it comes out that the waiter was lying and was just trying to upsell to get like wine on the tab, that's a different story. But we don't have any evidence of that right now. All we are told is that it's a policy, so we're gonna act like it's a policy issue and not a waiter issue. So I got 2 crab apples, a good apple, and a bad batch. I still need to get a bad batch icon. That's that's what I got. Did you get anything similar? Did you get anything different? I would love to hear down in the comments. I think a lot of these stories, people can have very different ideas and opinions, and that is okay. We all have different boundaries. We all have different things that we're willing to deal with. It's fine. Once again, if you want a chance for your story to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send it to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And for your well wishes today, oh, today's a good one. I like this one. We got options, okay? National Avocado Day. That, I love avocado. Guacamole, go get you some guacamole. I'm getting so excited. I'm trying to put a fence in my backyard, and there's a particular kind of avocado tree that can grow here in North Carolina. I want that so bad. I want it so bad, guys. It's also National Raspberry Cake Day, and raspberries are some of my favorite fruits. I love raspberries. So if you're a foodie, go find something avocado-like, or go find some raspberry cake. But if you're not a foodie, that is okay. It is also National Mutt Day for all of our little puppers out there. All the good boys and all the good girls. They need a little head boop. Is it just dogs that are considered mutts, or like mixed cats also mutts? Vixie's sleeping over there. Are you mutt? I know you've got Tabby, you've got Calico, you've got things. What are you? I think she's a mutt. Milo is definitely a little tuxedo mutt over there. My little baby. I don't know, are cats mutts? Someone let me know, I feel dumb now. But my brother's dog's a mutt. He's a little German Shepherd Malinois mix, a bunch of little things in there. Oh, he's such a good boy. Anyways, let me know which in the comments you definitely are celebrating today. I think, do I want raspberry cake or do I want guacamole? Well, it's Wednesday and I go to trivia on Wednesdays and I always get guacamole at Ruckus. So, not always. I always get cheese fries at Ruckus, but their guacamole is also good. The secret is sour cream. Just trust me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to see you all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.